I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, can hear. Walaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah, thank you, Prof.
Welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining today's training organized by the Center for Professional Development CPD. I am Dr. Aini from the Learning Design Unit and I will be your moderator for this session. Before we begin, let us recite Kitab Al-Fatihah. Alhamdulillah, for today's training, the title is Inspiring Excellence, Integrating Values-Based Education into University Teaching. We are honored to have with us a renowned speaker on advancing wisdom-based education and integrating Islamic perspective into contemporary educational practices, Emerita Prof. Dr. Rosnani Hashim, our retired professor from Kulliyyah of Education. Before we proceed further, I would like to share the overview of today's training and to introduce our speaker. Let me share with you the slides. Inshallah, the time will be up until 12 p.m. For the introduction of this training, in an increasingly complex and rapidly changing world, university roles extend beyond transmitting knowledge and developing technical skills. There is a growing recognition of the need to cultivate well-rounded individuals who possess not only intellectual prowess, but also a strong ethical compass, a sense of social responsibility, and the ability to contribute positively to society. Values-based education offers a framework for achieving this by intentionally integrating ethical, moral, and humanistic values into all aspects of university teaching and learning. Inshallah, today for the training outcomes, number one is to articulate the core principles and benefits of values-based education. Number two, integrate values across disciplines and teaching styles. Number three, design learning experiences that foster ethical and reflective thinking. And number four, implement assessment and collaboration strategies to support VBE. Let me introduce you to our Emerita Prof. Dr. Rosnani Hashim. She was formerly the Dean and Professor of Social Foundations of Education at the Kulliyyah of Education, International Islamic University Malaysia. She obtained her PhD from the University of Florida in USA in 1994. Her areas of specialization are social foundations of education, history, philosophy, and sociology, curriculum instruction, mathematics education, and the hikmah wisdom pedagogy of philosophical inquiry. She has served IUM from 1987 to 2021. She was the recipient of the Japan Foundation and Fulbright Direct Access to the Muslim World Fellowships, a visiting professor at Tokyo, Nagoya, Damascus, and Sakarya Turkey Universities and Montgomery Community College, USA. She was the editor of the Journal Pendidikan Islam and editor-in-chief of the IUM Journal of Educational Studies from 2010 to 2014. She has extensive practical experience as a school teacher and lecturer, a researcher, an academic administrator, a school board director, teacher, educator, and curriculum designer and reviewer. MashaAllah. She was honored with the prestigious IUM Academic Icon Award 2019 and Emerita Professorship in 2024. Presently, she is an independent scholar attached to IE Consultancy and Services where she focuses on the promotion and training of teachers in the wisdom hikmah pedagogy. She has written several books, among which are Educational Dualism in Malaysia in 1996, Towards an Islamic Curriculum, Principles and Issues, 2019, History, Theory and Practice of Philosophy for Children, 2017, Pentafsiran Baharu, Falsafah Pendidikan Kebangsaan dan Pelaksanaannya Pasca 2020 in 2019, Doing Philosophy for Wisdom in Islamic Education, 2020, and the recent one, Pendidikan Holistic Model Japan in 2024. Don't forget, 2 CTD points will be awarded to those who fill in the I-10. We will share the I-10 link 15 minutes after the training starts, recorded in Zoom for a certain duration, and to fill in the evaluation form within 24 hours. And please get ready for the photos to be taken at the end of training. So without further ado, let's welcome Emerita Prof. Dr. Rosnani Hashim.
Thank you, Sister Dr. Raini Hasan, and Assalamualaikum to all participants. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya mursalin, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Dear brothers and sisters, some of whose name I recognize here and some I don't. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to my session. And I thank the CPD, particularly Dr. Raini, for the invitation to talk to our staff in IUM, something which I have not done for a long time. I was often invited for IKE program, Islamization of Knowledge, and also the BTMC, the Teaching Method Program, under the Kulliyyah education years ago. And from there, I know that people knew me from those programs. I know that because I don't know them, but whenever I walk to the campus, they will say hello to me. So that's how that's how you can get well known in IIUM. Join a general program that trains staff, and staff will recognize you, but you wouldn't recognize them. But I'm glad, alhamdulillah, there was a bonding or relationship between us. I'm asked to present something on value-based education, inspiring excellence through integrating value-based education into university teaching. I think this is not new to you. I presume that you all can hear me, right? But you don't see my face. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm so sorry about that.
Now we can see your face, Prof.
I'm not up to date with technology. Now you can recognize me. Okay. Right. So I'm asked to talk about this topic, which I think is a very important topic, but it has always been with all of us actually. If you join IIUM, it is a priority. So there's no excuse for not knowing about value-based education because you are supposed to do it and exemplify it, okay? However, I have this question when I saw the topic. Why this topic now? You know, why suddenly? Isn't it part of IOK? And we are still doing IOK. Maybe the MOHI has just realized this, but I think we have realized it long ago, since 1983 when the university was formed. And that was one of the reasons for its establishment. Wasn't it emphasized in the National Education Philosophy that was formulated in 1988? Didn't we have, if we are Malaysian now in the university young staff, didn't we have curriculum berpadu sekolah menengah, the integrated curriculum for secondary school introduced in 1988 after KBSR? And it was known as KSSR after we completed the curriculum baru. Okay? Don't all of these have values as its base? It seems to slip down in basic education. In other words, it was well known in primary and secondary school, basic education, but not in higher education, I guess. And it didn't get into it except for in IIUM and also in the Faculty of Education in university, because Faculty of Education are supposed to teach teachers and they must know the education philosophy, right? What about the other Kulliyyah of faculties? We don't know. So these are the only two exceptions probably then, okay? So what was the impetus of value-based education then in the 1980s and 1990s? I think it wasn't so big a problem. It was the perennial problems that you face everywhere in any society, which is social problems like, truancy, drug addiction, bullies, premarital or teenage sex. I mean, those were the issues then. Okay, but what about now? We are in the 21st century. So let me share my slide with you. So that you can follow me better. Now, where's my slide? Hold on.
Prof, sorry, let me just announce a couple of things to the audience. Prof allow the questions to be asked during her presentation, but the slides we will share with you at the end of after we end the presentation, inshallah.
Hold on, I can't get my slide. Sorry,
Okay, yeah, we can see it, Prof.
can
Full.
see it now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay then. So, so I guess I will skip. So now we are in the 21st century. Are the problems still the same or are they different? So I guess 21st century means a lot of rapid changes for all of us. And all timers like me, we almost gave up already. we almost gave up with social media, AI. We were are fine with ICT. We were fine with internet. We were fine with Google. But come AI and social media, we are not fine. We are bombarded too much. Too much. Commonly, we only read text, right? But now we have lots of video clips, and which video clip lasts 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, 20 minutes? Where do we have the time in the world to sit down and look at those things? And plus, it is ChatGPT, which is very good, DeepSeek very good because it helps us to find information in a faster manner than Google. Because in Google, we just put our terminology there, ask Google to find all the possibilities, and we have to search and hunt for that suits us. But with ChatGPT, we just ask direct question and we get direct answers. And they ask further, you want more aspect? They will answer. So it's much easier. So ChatGPT and DeepSeek is different, but the social media is something that is, I don't know, it's good for business people who want to do advertisement, but in terms of politics and moral development, I think there's a lot of negative effects. Okay, I remember when I was at the Malaysian Education Dean Council conference in Sabah. There was maybe before around 2015 probably. Dr. Amsyah Tafsir, her name I think, was the DG of Mohe. And she introduced Sophia. There's a picture that I shared with you. Sophia, that robot, the speaking robot. That robot then was very primitive. Suddenly, 2024, the robot is alive. And the robot is doing many things, helping people to do many things now. So it can chat intellectually, so this is useful for our students academically. But what's the impetus now with regards to value-based? Why suddenly we are emphasizing value-based? I think in the context of Malaysia, the most important thing that we have realized with the new government that came into power in 2022, what is corruption? Corruption is so rampant. And now we are seeing people being dragged to court because of corruptions that happens in the past. So I think, and it is continuing. So that is one of the greatest, I think, moral decadence that we are seeing. Of course, there is also selfishness, being materialistic and selfish. There are now fake news, fake facts, scammers, plagiarism, fitna. All these are signs of erosion of morality and faith. So how to fix this? Where and how to fix this? Whenever people have problem in any society, then they look at education. Yeah, they look at education. Now, as Sister Raini mentioned just now, we will try to conduct this program in a manner that will involve discussion. But unlike in a face-to-face situation where I can see many of the students, I think my range of faces I can see is very limited. Okay, so I know there are from the information here, I think there are about 121 participants. Class duplication, say let's say 100 participants. Okay, so we'll try. Okay, Now, so whenever we have problem in society, we turn to education to solve the problem. Drug problem goes to school. Any kind of problems go to school, to the point that the school is overloaded with so much things to do. It's not like the university. It's overloaded with so much things to do for the teachers. But anyway, this just shows for us, okay? This just shows for us that there is a very close connection between values and education. And you cannot have education without the transmission of and inculcation of values. That is where it started. If education does not integrate or instill values or adapt, then it's not education. And that's why Mr. Luis, I can't remember his first name, from Harvard says that how the great university has lost its soul. Harvard has lost its soul because they are more concerned on the commercial aspect of education. The students are not getting that moral, ethical installation or intuition into them. So this is why he said that he has lost his soul, which is correct. Okay, so let us talk about what is values, morals, and ethnicity. Okay, you can ask me any question by raising your hand. If I don't see your hand, you just unmute your mic. Okay, but maybe in the beginning, let's listen to some theories first. Actually, I'm giving these theories more to educate myself than you, okay? Because I'm supposed to talk about values and ethics and so on. So I said, I better know what it is. So I got all this information to educate myself. Now I'm transmitting it to you. Because one of the ways to become a good teacher, a person who is knowledgeable, the last stage is to teach it to others. If you don't teach it to others, you don't know the depth of your knowledge. Okay? So let's now look what we mean by values, ethics, and morals. Because these are three terms that is very common. Well, all these three terms, values, ethics, and morals, they are rooted, if you're talking from the Islamic perspective, rooted in the Quran and Sunnah and the broader Sharia, the Islamic law. It's all there. Okay, you can't take it off from the deen. Okay. Values are the core principles and ideals that reflect what is important. You have religious values, you have aesthetic values, you have instrumental values. There are many kinds of values, but these are the things that reflect to you what is important. Okay, and it is prioritized by a Muslim, guided by the will of Allah. So for us Muslims and for most religious people, maybe religious values is the priority, and they will be guided by the religious principles based on the kitab, probably a kitab, if they are a kitab. Okay. Values influence, these values that you possess influence both the ethics and morals, and therefore they are broader. They reflect personal priorities and motivation. What are some key Islamic values? Some of the key Islamic values, for example, is Tawheed, the unity of God, the oneness of God. There's a very strong value for Muslim. That's the most basic value. And Prophet is messenger. Messenger, that means he is supposed to convey to us the message and exemplify those messages. Okay. And second most important value is justice, adil. And then there is rahmah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There is rahmah there. Amanah. Yeah. Sincerity, ikhlas, syukur. And don't put there sabar. We don't put there also courage. We don't also put there adil. But these are all, hikmah. These are all Islamic values, key Islamic values, okay? And for example, for a Muslim, the value of being truthful is not just a virtue that is good. Being truthful is good, but it's also a command of Allah. Therefore, when they are asked to lie for not a reason allowed in Sharia, they wouldn't want to lie. It's very difficult for them. And this is all the other characteristic, our characteristic inbuilt in us, not inbuilt actually, developed in us, like muraqabah. You know, muraqabah is awareness that Allah is ever watching. I think that's the greatest internal policeman. Once you have muraqabah, you don't need the external policeman. But how do we get muraqabah? So that's an issue to be discussed later on. These are the values, okay? So that is values, something that we value. That's why it's called values. Yeah? And there are priorities. Some values are more important than other values. Okay, like aesthetic values. I have aesthetic, but if I'm poor, I cannot get all those. Aesthetics. For the architectural student, I don't know. Aesthetic is cheap. To me, aesthetic is expensive. Because when I go to a house that is very beautiful, when you look at the furnishing, you look at the decor, to me it is very expensive. So for me, that's not my priority. I'm pragmatic. You can say I'm pragmatic. I'm practical. I rather save my money for other higher objective than just get this furniture. But it is important to have aesthetic. Like Allah has, like Allah said, he's Jamil. Yeah, he loves Jamil and he's Jamil. So we have to be beautiful. We have to look good. But I like to look good in a simple way. That's what I mean. But you can look good. Some people like cooking. Some people, they are so good in cooking. Give them anything that's very cheap, but they can turn it to wonders in terms of taste. Some people, they're not good in cooking like me. You give me even expensive stuff, it won't turn out. So in other words, it doesn't mean that you need to have a lot of money to have aesthetic values. But in other words, there are a range of values. So that's what I'm trying to say here. Okay. Now, what are morals? Morals are beliefs and principles about what is right and wrong. It's not values, we don't say right and wrong, okay? But morals is related to right and wrong that we hold. And these morals are shaped by a culture, our adat, our custom, religion, our upbringing, and personal experiences, and they guide personal behavior. Moral or akhlaq in Islam refers to personal character and behavior that align with the will of Allah and example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. For example, how do you know that it refers to the Prophet? Because in the Quran there are verses that refers to the Prophet as uswatun hasanah, our model. So that is so what I'm saying is nothing new to you, right? Because you all are good in this, you know already. So the Quran affirm that there's a good example in the Prophet. If you believe in the year after, the day of judgment, continuation of the ayat. The Quran also said that indeed the Prophet is a person of great moral character. And the Prophet even said that in his hadith that I was sent to perfect makarimul akhlaq, good character. Okay, so this is where our source of exemplary model. Okay, and then of course there are many good akhlaq that we know. It's whether we have it or not. For example, modesty is a very important akhlaq. So when one MDB happens, there's a phrase, apa malu bosku, right? So in other words, without the malu, without that haya, many bad things can happen because the modesty doesn't refer to malu to people. It's malu to God. Because you tak malu to people, you don't have that haya or shame to people, you are willing to do it. But if we have haya to Allah SWT, you are shy to do even small negative things, small evil things. Yeah. So this is these akhlaq are very important, like sabar, forgiveness, siddiq, tawadu. Maybe when you were young, you cannot forgive. When you are young, you cannot forgive. But when you are old, okay, you have to let go. Because if you don't forgive, it will keep bothering in your mind and you're not going to live peacefully. So that's why it's always good to forgive. Forgive means your heart will become very wide and open. Okay, so this is so a Muslim refrains from backbiting even in private, due to moral responsibility. They won't dare to tell lies. And that's what fasting is supposed to teach us. Siam, fasting is supposed to teach us about muraqabah. Because I guess when I was little, maybe you too, okay, when you were little, when nobody's watching, you pick some biscuit and eat. You pick some biscuit and eat because you're hungry. And said nobody is watching you, right? When nobody's watching you. But when you become more sensible, when you become a teenager, let's say, then you do that because you say, muraqabah, Allah is watching me. That is the seed of good character. Okay, good akhlak. Okay, let's move to ethics now. Now, ethics is the system of moral principles that are applied in decision making and judging action as right or wrong. So in other words, the ethics are the work of scholars. They are the one who do ijtihad. They are the one who crack their head to say that, let's say, this is haram, this is halal, and justify the decision made. Okay, so they have to refer to Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, the consensus of the previous people, and Qiyas. Okay, so of course there are ethics, applied ethics in Islam as well as in the Western worldview. You have business ethics in Islam. Business ethics, prohibition of riba, requirement of fairness. Nabi Shu'aib came to make people not deceive others with the mizan for weighing. Okay, and when we were little, I think we noticed this a lot among our friend, our neighborly shop. Okay, who are owned by non-Muslim. Okay. Sometimes we see double standard. When you pay and compared to your friend who's also from their same race, they charge differently. So that is not fairness. That's not fair. Okay. However, with modern commerce, you see that things have improved, I think, because you can see for yourself. Okay. So business ethics is very important. And sometimes people say that they become rich because they don't have business ethics. So we should also follow them. I think that is not right, right? No. Somehow you wonder, okay, despite being unethical, they prosper. They prosper. And you say, why Allah make them prosper? That is a question that you can answer later on, okay? Why is it that besides being unethical, not only them, but many people, they're unethical, but they prosper in whatever they are doing. Is it a test? Allahu A'lam. Okay. Then you have medical ethics. Medical ethics means you must make sure life is very precious. You try to save life, try to preserve life, okay? And you try to avoid harm. And social ethics, like this is very common, social ethics, right of the neighbors, right of the parents, the poor. This is the adab mostly, okay? And then environmental ethics is taking care of the earth as Khalifah. So a Muslim will avoid unethical business practices because Islam commands fairness and forbids exploitation, regardless of whoever is your customer, whatever race and whatever faith. That is a real true Muslim. Okay? Not because you are not from my stock, same ethnic stock, racial stock, then I can be unfair with you. But this is what the Jews do, isn't it? It is revealed in the Quran. they give preference for people of the same racial or Jewish faith. Okay, so these are three things. I hope it's clear. Value is something that everyone has. Okay, but you have to know what is right, what is wrong. Okay, and then comes the moral, and then ethics are the people who deliberate. That's why you have usul fiqh al-akhlaq, and so on. You say fiqh, that means hukum already. Okay. Okay. So an analogy, values are like foundation. They inform you what you care about. It's about Allah's love and emphasizes what Allah emphasizes in the Quran. Morals are like compass. They guide your direction based on your belief. It is how a good Muslim should behave. What is the akhlaq? Okay. And ethics are like the map, because in the map there are so many areas, so many territories. They can tell you which part you can go, which part you cannot go. Okay. So they provide agreed upon path to follow in societies or professions. If you are professionals, there are professional ethics, right? They tell us what is halal and what is haram in practice. So is there objective truth? There is objective truth if you subscribe to the divine law. Otherwise, you will have a lot of relative truths. What is true to one society, one community, might not be true to another community. What is right might not be right there. Okay? And your purpose in having this good akhlaq is to earn Allah's pleasure and to succeed in the hereafter, the afterlife. So then on what basis do we make decision? What basis do we make ethical decision? Okay? Moral decision, sorry. So yeah, if you study moral philosophy, which I taste only a little, okay, maybe there are more people who taste more, but I think in our system of education, we don't emphasize it so much. And even if we follow, at one point of time, we have a combination of philosophy and philosophy and akidah, I think, in Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman Kulliyyah Islamic Revealed Knowledge. I don't know whether some of you are here. They try to marry that. But then after a while, I guess they found it, they found the negative side of it. So they sorry, they had a philosophy department. Sorry, KHS before has a philosophy department. Then they disbanded that and put it with revealed knowledge. And then now I think Prof. Hashim is teaching one of the course there on philosophy, I think. So anyway, but we don't have the depths, you know. We'll talk about it more later, inshallah. But if you look at the Western moral philosophy, if they ask, what are the basis do we make moral decision? How do we make moral decision? What is right and what is wrong? They have a few principles there, as I outlined on the right column. First is the divine command theories, which is what the Bible or the Quran tells you. So most of us subscribe to that, if you're Muslim. If you are a practicing Muslim, not a Muslim, okay. Practicing Muslim. Yes. Telling lies, be truthful, all these are written in the Quran, okay? And then the other one that helps us to make decision is our conscience. And the Quran also, the Hadith tells very clearly, in every human being there is a clot of flesh. Huh? And if that flesh is good, you're good. If the flesh is bad, it's bad. And that flesh is called your hati. So you always have to ask your hati. If you are a good person and you do something wrong, your hati will be talking to you. And you won't be having a peaceful day for that day, thinking about it, because your hati is thinking about it. That is conscience. That's why you need to develop a good hati. Baik hati kita kata, ya. We said baik hati, good hati. Baik hati sedekah, baik hati tolong orang. You baik hati, you help people, you give charity, you give your time, you're happy. Good hati, you're happy. So this is conscience. The other one is, they say ethical egoism, whether you are selfish or not, or altruistic. If you're altruistic, that means you're willing to be selfless. You give people. They're more important to you than yourself. So this is, but if you are egoistic, then you're more important to others, then you'll be evil. Because everything you want first. Like when you're children, you want the most amount of food, right? So you don't care, you don't care about your siblings. I remember when I was little, I was born in a family of 12 children. Imagine, 12 children, one mother, okay? And every time when it's meal time, my elder sister would be putting on the table equal share for everyone. So that is where it's fairness. But the naughty one, this is where the naughty one, the selfish one, they will go and take others' portion into their plates. So this is what, if you are selfish, you don't think about other people, you will gobble up everything and you leave nothing for the rest. So that's not good, isn't it? So this is ethical egoism. The fourth one is ethics of duty. You do things because this is your duty. It's your duty to help the poor people. It's your duty to help the younger ones. It's your duty to help your parents, to take care of your parents. So this is ethics of duty. I think most of us also have this, but you have to know what is your duty. And the ethic of respect, okay? You don't treat people as a means to other things. That means you make use of people. No, if you make use of other people, this happens, okay? Then you are mean and you don't respect other people. Respect just doesn't mean that You salute the people, you say yes, but if you treat them as a means to your ambition, then you are disrespecting people. And then ethics of rights, this has to be distinguished between rights and duties. Yeah. In fact, we have some games to distinguish between rights and duties in our pedagogy. But anyway, some people don't know the difference between rights and duties. Right, something that is given to you by whom? Okay. And then we have utilitarianism, which is consequentialist. They do things and they think what will happen. And they said that they do it to make the most number of people happy. That's utilitarian. That is James Stuart Mills. That's what ethic of justice. I think you know what's justice. And of course, the last thing is virtue ethics. Virtue ethics is you want to be a good person. And this is subscribed by many great sage like Confucius, like Al-Ghazali, about being a good person. So then the question arises: how do you define good, and what determines good, right? Okay. So you can ask yourself, okay, if you are having a classroom on moral, okay, you can list down all that principle just now, and then you can ask yourself, how important are each of the following in your life? Whether they are extremely important, very important, average, little, or not at all. So this is one way to know what is your moral principles. Okay. Okay. Now we come to what is required of you. I'm sure you. I know you're coming here for KPI. Sorry about that, because KPI haunts me when I was teaching. Okay, it changed my mood of teaching from something that is I'm doing it for the sake of God, for the pleasure of Allah, something that makes me wonder what am I here for? No, that's KPI. If you are a thinking person, you should think about it. KPI changed the whole culture, because now you're doing it for KPI. You're not looking. Are you sincere? That's the main important thing in Islam. In Islam, innama amalu bin niyat, right? If your niyat is to marry a woman, you get the woman. That's in the first art of the 40 hadith. Innama amalu bin niyat. Whatever you do is based on your niyat. If your niyat is to hijrah for a lady you want to get married to, you will get that lady. But if your niyat is for Allah SWT, it will be a struggle, a jihad, and you get that too. So this is what KPI did. It changed the culture for me, and I don't find it as happy anymore. My heart, my cup was not happy anymore. So I was willing to go when time comes. Because I'm not feeling happy anymore. My heart doesn't feel happy anymore, and you are haunted by it. Every semester this KPI, right? I'm no more the dean then already. Okay, so I didn't fight. Maybe if I was still the dean and I was still in Senate, I would fight it. But I think our previous rector fought against it, and he didn't want to be ranked, right? Now you're back to rank. So this is the debate, and this debate is related to values. It's not just academic. It is value related. Okay. But anyway, so now the ministry, Mohi, higher education, is talking about value-based education, as though they just discovered. Whereas it is something, as I said, intricate to education. Value. Why do we have Quranic school before? Why do we have Bible study before? Why do we have all this? Because to educate the children with values, not just the knowledge from the Quran, but with the values. And this is then fostered in the home. Okay, in the home. So, but anyway, to fulfill your understanding of value-based education from the Mohi perspective, the framework, so it is correct when they say that VBE is for strengthening moral and ethical values alongside academic rigor. So not to forget that, okay? Is to nurture character, personality, attitude, and behavior based on humanistic, societal, and communal values. Yes, that's true. So it should be done, just like it was done in the basic education, as I told you earlier. Secondly, in terms of the MQF, it is an educational approach that integrates universal and Malaysian values into all aspects of teaching, learning, and assessment. So now, I will raise the question later on, but this is very straightforward, very nice, very good looking, okay? It aims to develop holistic, ethical, and responsible graduates who contribute positively to society. So it's nothing different from, as far as I can see, nothing different from what we are trying to achieve through the IOK. Anyway, and then it also has the FPK portion. It says that it wants to restore emphasis on values. Restoring emphasis on values will lead to truly holistic and balanced graduates. And this is what FPK mentioned. Okay. So when you look at this, okay, because I've also taught KVSM values, okay. We have values across the curriculum, we call it. That's what you want to do later on. You say integrate in all aspects of teaching and learning. That means you want to have values across the curriculum. That's what they would say in basic education in secondary school. Okay. But when you look at all the values listed, they have 16 values. Okay. Where is the God consciousness? They don't mention anything about where is the peranan God? Where's the role of God? Yeah. In FPK, it's specifically mentioned. Okay, let me look at FPK. This is National Philosophy of Education, FPK. Okay. Teachers, schools, children have to memorize this. I find it very difficult to memorize. I know the gist of it. Okay. So the first thing, it is an ongoing effort to develop the potentials of individuals. So the most important thing is to develop potentials of individuals. Everyone. In a holistic and integrated manner, so as to produce individuals who are intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and physically balanced and harmonious. So you notice that the wording is very nice. It's very, very good. Excellent. Okay. And you want all of this, the integrated manner, holistic manner, the development, the spiritual, emotional, intellectual development, based on a firm belief in and devotion to God. So when you look at this FPK for the first time, I said, this is the desecularization of education in Malaysia. It is very explicit. Desecularization. In other words, now you say firm belief in and devotion to God. Where can you find this in other parts of the world? Malaysia is the only one that has this firm belief and devotion to God. That is the foundation stone, and then it comes to the second part. The first part is very clear there. There's the principle. The second part, why you want to do this? You want to produce Malaysian citizens. Now, before they didn't put citizen, now they put Malaysian citizens who are knowledgeable and competent, is professionally, possess high moral standards, responsible and capable of achieving high level of personal well-being, contribute to the harmony and betterment of society and nation at large. I really praise whoever the team that designed this, formulated this philosophy in 1988. Very complete, and also it desecularized the system, because you bring in back God, which is lost now in Harvard. Okay, in Western institution, there's no more God. We are bringing back God. Okay, but the question now, before having this belief and devotion to God, and the 16 values that is going to be transmitted and inculcated, instilled, you don't see the concept of Tawheed, God consciousness in it. Whereas if you look, as I remember saying to you just now, whereas if you look at what they call this, what refrain someone from doing evil or bad or wrong things or false things is the muraqabah. And the muraqabah is the God consciousness. Without that God consciousness, you can't prevent people from doing the evil things, the negative things, the immoral things. Okay, so this is something that that's why IOK is more important than this, because IOK is very insistent on the Tawheed, and now you have Tawheedic epistemology. It is the unity of God for all Alatas or Faruqi or Nas or Professor Osman Bakar. Tawheed is number one. that link to God, okay? Anyway, and in your VBE by MQF, Mohi, they want to have, these are the key points. They want to develop this through the VBE, holistic human development. That means the 4 dimension or 5 dimension mentioned just now, but in line with national aspiration. They want to have values across the curriculum, as I said just now. But embedded in all activities of teaching and learning. I don't think in higher education it's not as easy as that. Okay, we'll talk about that. You can say this in the primary and secondary school, but in higher education it's not like that anymore. Okay, we are in higher education. We are dealing with buluh. You know buluh, bamboo. We are not dealing with bamboo shoots. Okay, you know, we are dealing with bamboos. Bamboos mean they are very hard already, very hard. If it's hard, it's just like the rib of women. That the Prophet say, if you want to deal with women, don't deal harshly with them, because their bones are hard. You break them. Same thing with the bamboo here. You break them, they're not shoot anymore. So it's not easy to just infuse values across the curriculum through the learning activities and so on. That's the reality. Okay, and then to align. When we do VBE, we are aligning ourselves with national NPE. So that's okay. That's what we want. And then you want graduates to have good akhlaq, good character, with sustainability. And then you encourage us through SDG and national unity, intercultural understanding, respect for diversity. In fact, this diversity comes about very much through globalization. Yeah. In every country in the world right now, it's not homogeneous anymore. Japan used to be homogeneous. They have Japanese people alone, so they can deal it very easily with their people. But now with globalization, every place is diverse, either with brain drain people or muscle drain. Only brain drain, there is the scholars and the professional. You also have the muscle drain, the workers, all coming from all over the world. So, but anyway, how does VBE looks in terms of IIUM? Will it need a change in what we are doing or not? Or it's nothing new. So let's look at the comparison. So here is a comparison between MQF VBE and IIUM. Okay, if you look at in terms of ethics and morality, I think there's nothing different. We have been emphasizing this. Okay, IOK means the knowledge, the ethics, and the akhlaq as well. So that is taken care of. In terms of holistic education, we focus on the dimensions of the human individual potential. We still have this intellectual, physical, spiritual, sustainability, and emotional. So that is still Tauhid integration and insan sejahtera. Well, that's what you have formulated in the last during Prof Zul's time. Okay, insan sejahtera. Sometimes also you feel, we university are just like following the country. So we have Islam Hadari, Pak Lah, right? Allah Yarham Pak Lah, Islam Hadari. And then Najib came after him. Apa? What is it? Satu Malaysia. Satu Malaysia, right? Satu Malaysia, satu keluarga Malaysia, Ismail Sabri, satu keluarga Malaysia. And then what was Muhyiddin? I can't remember. And then we have Anwar Madani. So we also have Sejahtera, and now we go to with apology to Prof Usman, Tauhidic epistemology. So we are also following that trend. When we shouldn't be changing our principles. It's the same. By changing the trends every time with new terms, what do? You confuse your people. You confuse the lecturers even. So if the lecturers are confused, what more the student, right? So this is something that we should avoid, So that's why whether you use VBE or you use IOK, it's the same, yeah. Graduate attributes also, we talk about khair, khalifah, amanah, rahmatan lil alamin. Infusion, yes, across curriculum, practice through IOK reflects Islamic worldview, universal ethics. Yeah, support for unity and global citizenship. We are very much into ummatic solidarity. I think one of the achievement of IUM is this ummatic solidarity. So much so that we have our students all over the world now. And they are carrying the mission of this Tawhidic knowledge, Tawhidic based knowledge, value-based education. Yeah. So VBE is really in line with IOK. It's just another term. So if you want to use it, you use it. But why don't we just stick with IOK? Dr. Mira, Prof. Mira. Don't confuse. Maybe for them, because they have to cater for non-Muslim in the university. There's so many non-Muslim, Malaysian non-Muslim. They cannot use the word IOK. Yeah. So they use a very neutral, very non-sensitive words like value-based. It's just like following from the basic education to university. Because we questioned before with Prof. Zul. That's why we came up with the book FPK and post 20th century. Yeah, because we in the university have not been following FPK. So that's why we have to revive FPK in the university. So this is what are the models and values? Now we go on to the next one. Any question there so far? The theory, that was the theory of, sorry, it take a long time. Values, moral, and ethics. Now, if there's no question, we go on to how do we approach integrating values in the classroom? When we were teaching students as teachers for the school in faculties of education, we are given 16 values, and you are supposed to focus on the 16 values, one after another. I think that's very regimented. I think values should be taught in context. Even the former DG, Al-Alayaham, Dr. Wan Zahid, he mentioned that values are not taught, values are caught. That's what I mean just now. It's not easy to teach values. They are not taught, they are caught. It's action. Okay. But anyway, in terms of theory, we have several approaches for teaching values. For the Western, you have Skinner, Piaget, and Kohlberg in psychology. You also have Covey. I'm sure you have heard of Covey, 7 Habits. Covey. Licona now is brought back sort of the hero in basic education with the Yang Berhormat Padlina and her assistants. They're bringing back Licona into the school for character development. But we have also Muslim scholars taught like Al-Ghazali, Ibn Miskawayh, to mention 2 great ones. Okay, so what are the difference between them? Okay, Piaget and Kohlberg is about the same, except that Piaget has only 2 levels, Kohlberg has 3 levels, with each level 2 sub-levels. So it is reasonable, and it is through experience. So don't just brush it aside, because although they are Western scholars, they did studies, and the studies are relevant for us. So for example, you have in the pre-conventional level, moral reasoning is controlled by external rewards and punishment. So this is where behaviorism, Skinner comes in. You do good, I praise you. You do bad, I reprimand you. You do good, in exam, I give you rewards, prizes, and so on. So this is the very young children level, okay? If you are still stuck here, I'm so sorry for you. If you are still stuck for you are still looking for rewards for whatever good things you have done, yes, you are like a businessman, like Al-Ghazali would say. You are doing the treating things like a businessman. You do something good, you want to exchange for it. So that is a businessman. And that's very low level, not high level. Okay. And then conventional is there are internal standards imposed by others. So you have laws, and so on. And then post-conventional, this is internal. This is a murakabah. It's not based on external standards. Okay, so that's why we have him dividing it into, for each there are 2 levels. You call it heteronomous, individualism, purpose and exchange, mutual interpersonal expectation, social system, social contract, and a universal. So most of the prophets are here, universal. Okay. And then there is the habits of 7 Covey. I'm sure you have heard of this. He's very famous for this, I think, very interesting one. Sow an idea, reap a thought. So you must have an idea. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. So you want character development, you must make it a habit. And this habit is an action. And it comes from a thought. So this is very simple but very true. So you have thoughts mean your cognition, action means your hand, and then habits. Here there is no heart. You don't see the heart. Maybe you can add that to Kobe, and Kobe because of this, it has Kobe has these 7 habits of effective people. If you want to be successful, you can apply Kobe. There's nothing wrong with that. I see good things in what he has said. First, if the period of independence, but you have to be proactive. You have your mission, begin with the end in mind, and then you must have a hierarchy of steps. And then once you have achieved this, you achieve independence, and then you think for outside. This is your Khalifah state. This is the this is the Khalifah. Huh? So you have private victory for yourself, public victory, and then you sharpen, you go and do it all again. So that is Kobe, okay? Very famous during. And then Likona. So what is Likona's ideas that they want to bring to the school today? His principle of character development uses a comprehensive, intentional, and proactive approach. Schools, you can change that to university, must make character development an intentional part of their culture and curriculum. So it must be intentional. There must be a niat, okay? Secondly, create a caring school community or university community of mutual respect and relationship, okay, for character development. Positive school climate. Provide students with opportunities for moral action. That means real opportunities to practice empathy, cooperation, and service. So this, what we are doing now in the university, I see is a lot of co-curriculum, which is service. Yeah, co-curriculum. Includes a meaningful and challenging academic curriculum. So despite you're talking about character, he's suggesting importance of academic curriculum as well, because he said academic excellence and character go hand in hand. Yeah, challenging content engages students in ethical reflection. So what is missing here is sometimes we don't have ethical reflection. This is missing. Okay. And then strive to develop students' self-motivation. In other words, now it is internal reward, not external reward. So, I remember when I was younger, my children were still in primary and some in secondary school. They are alhamdulillah, I'm blessed with highly motivated and successful, hardworking children. So when they got top of the class, they will relate to me. You know, Mom, my friend said, what did I get for being number 1? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't give you anything for number 1. So that's how I kill their needs for rewards. You should have the self-reward. You should feel that it's good for you. So in beginning, yes, but not forever, okay? And then so that is self-motivation, okay? And then school staff, academic staff in university, okay, must engage them as learning and moral community. So they must portray good moral character and high expectation of themselves, so that students look at them with that. This not only admin staff, academic staff as well. Do you as academic staff, when you see students in financial difficulty, offer a lending help to them, offer a hand to them? Do you recognize students in difficulty if you are university lecturer, especially financial difficulty? And this is mainly from the international students and also from the poor kampung students. If you lend a hand, they will remember this for the rest of their life. And you have shown an example of a good character, not just by words, but by action. That's why I said it is caught, not caught. So I hope you have encountered that and you have done that. If you have done that, alhamdulillah, you are a good lecturer in terms of akhlaq. Your student will remember you forever. Okay? And then when you have people in difficulty, they will remember you forever and they will pray for your success as well. I think I was successful because of the prayers of my students. So that's what I always believe, you know. So I pray for them in return, okay? So yeah, foster moral leadership and long-range support, engage families and community members. So here we don't have families so much in the university, but we have community members. So they work with the community now, service. And then you have to assess the culture and climate of the institution. Does it assess progress in promoting character and improving culture? Now you ask the question, can we assess a character, right? So that is another question. So now let's go to Al-Ghazali. Al-Ghazali, Ya Ulumuddin, its ethical focus. Al-Ghazali focuses on purification of the soul, tazkiyah, ikhlas, and mujahadah. These are 3 things. And he emphasized that character must be aligned with the prophetic model. Every action should aim to draw one closer to Allah. So controlling anger and desire is essential for achieving justice and moral excellence. So are you able to control your anger, control your desire? Anger is the opposite of courage. Courage is a positive, but when you do it to the extreme, it becomes anger. Okay, so if you are good, you are able to be in between. Okay, and then desire as well. So this is Al-Ghazali, to be simple. And his method of character development is, we said, mujahadah, spiritual struggle, muhasabah, self-reflection and accountability, muraqabah, this is the heart-centered ethics, watchfulness, suhbah, that means you have positive environment among your peers. Okay, they are good influencer, not bad influencer, the positive environment, the fitrah. Then riyadatul nafs, ego training. You cannot have one exceeding the other. And then takdib and role modeling. It's very important, role modeling. There is somebody to model. They have to see this in their environment. And I think we develop some kind of respect so much to our elderly. I remember our elderly now, like Hamid Abu Sulaiman, Prof Kamal, Malik Badri, Jamal Brazinji, they all have gone. But until today, I always cherish them in my heart and my prayer, because I learn a lot from them. I see them in action. So this is the thing that you should be able to see in your environment. Okay, Ibn Maskawai, he lives earlier than Al-Ghazali. He wrote the book Azim al-Akhlaq. His focus is different because if Al-Ghazali was very God focused, he centered on soul development and moral harmony, virtue ethic model, and it's based more on rational. It was influenced by, we say it was influenced by Aristotle. And when you see these key virtues, we say about virtues, right? But the Greek have these 4 virtues. You read Plato, you read Socrates: wisdom, courage, temperance or perseverance, justice. 4 virtues, very important to the Greek philosophers. And Ibn Muskawai adopted it, he Islamized it. Say, okay. So these are the things that he encourages, and he used also soul development. And his goal is to lead ethical conduct, lead to happiness, like Aristotle said, is happiness as well, sa'adah. So like Aristotle has the golden mean. So in other words, you can see in your life there are one extreme on the right, the other extreme on the left. You don't want to be in this extremist position. You want to be in the middle, wasatiyah, and they call it the golden means, balance. Okay, balance. So we have so what is his principles of character development? Okay, just like Plato and Aristotle, we state that the soul has 3 faculties. You have reason, you have desire, and you have anger. The rational, the nafs, and the soul. The soul is here, I think, and then you have the nafs. Oh yeah, the soul is here. Soul, spiritual part. Okay, so these 3 things. These 3 things must always be in harmony. In other words, in terms of a country, he gave analogy of a country. You have the leader, you have the soldier, and then you have the craftsman. The leader is the one with the rational soul. The soldier is the one with the rational soul. The spiritual soul is the leader, then the rational soul, and then the nafs. If they are in order, the country will be in harmony, and they'll be peaceful. But suppose now the soldier take over the country, like they do in most Muslim countries, right? Right? In most Muslim countries before, there are a lot of toppling of rulers by the generals or the military. When things are not in order, the country will be chaotic. There will be no harmony. So this is why they put this from analogy of the country for Plato, okay, analogy of the country, the analogy of the man. Okay, the man. So when these things are in order, then you have justice. Then it's adil. This is the concept of adil. Adil, the concept of adil is things in their proper place. That is adil. So adil for Plato. So this is what Ibn Maskawis adopted from them. Okay. And then there is the golden mean. Virtue is the golden mean. It lies between two extremes, as I mentioned just now. Okay. So well-developed character constantly seek the balanced middle. And thirdly, he said ethics are acquired, not innate. You're not born with ethics. Although your children, we say, are born with fitrah, right? Fitrah means they are pure, good. Then they became bad. How did they become bad? Then there are many theories about how they become bad. For example, you have the theory that they are influenced by the people around them, their parents, their siblings, their friends. Then they become bad. So there is no concept of original sin in Islam. But however, ethics are quite not innate. So it's mostly shaped through education, habit, and effort. This is Ibn Muskawi. Anyone can improve with training, riadah, and reflection. Yeah, this is the same with what Al-Ghazali would say. Suppose you are a very stingy person. You're not charitable, not generous, but you want to become generous. If you say that it is something that cannot be changed, then there's no use in teaching and training. But Al-Ghazali said, no, it can be changed. So what you do, today you donate 10 cents. Tomorrow you donate 20 cents. The next day you donate 50 cents. The following day you donate $1. So in the end, it becomes what? It becomes a habit. That's the way Al-Ghazali approach it. Okay. Now, as Maskawai said, self-knowledge is the foundation. Saying that knowing oneself is the first step to refining one's soul. A person must understand their strength and weaknesses to grow morally. And the ultimate goal to him, just now we say happiness, is becoming like an angel. The highest human purpose is to refine the soul until it becomes pure, rational, and close to God. So this is the same with Al-Ghazali actually. But we don't have time to elaborate on all of them, okay? So if you compare them, there is this comparison. Al-Ghazali is God-centered. He said here is soul-centered, what is within Islamic bound. Yes, nearest to Allah. Al-Ghazali here is human happiness and perfection of the soul. Method is Quran, Sunnah, Sufism, Tasawwuf, okay? His is reason, philosophy, Islamic tradition. So spiritual purification and rational virtue. So Islamic ethics are divinely anchored, aiming at spiritual success. Secular ethics are human-centered, often aiming at worldly well-being. Islamic philosopher like Al-Ghazali merged spiritual depth with moral philosophy, emphasizing both internal character and external behavior. So that is, so then there's a comparison between the three of them. I don't think we have the time for that. We have discussed them. Also Islamic and versus secular view. You can say in terms of difference, in terms of source of authority, in terms of the values, in terms of the morals, in terms of the ethics, in terms of objective truth, and in terms of purpose. And the main difference is that, the major difference is that you learn in IOK, there is no God here. That's the major difference, okay, in secular perspective. It is very man-centered. So then the other methods of doing teaching is Islam religious education. So Al-Ghazali would put very much effort on religious education, whereas I would say that Ms. Kawai would put efforts of religious and also philosophy, reason. Okay, so Quran, if you are talking about religious education, that means Quran and prophetic methods. So there's nothing to. Okay, now when to teach moral character? Okay, based on theory and Quran and Sunnah, we teach values, morals, and adab from young. The knowledge of bending the bamboo from its shoot. Okay, we don't do it when we are already bamboo, very tough. Okay, sometimes when we teach it when they are young, we don't give reasons. Because they are not able to reason and justify the moral action because of their intellectual immaturity, especially when they are small children. Okay, so they just follow, and they follow not because they see the good in it, or the reason is good, but because they are afraid of punishment. Because if they don't follow, they'll be punished, right? Upon reaching adolescence, our kids ought to be taught ethics and moral judgment using reasons, because contexts are changing. For any particular rule, it doesn't stick forever the same way. It will change according to the context. For example, I remember Shafi'i, I think, Imam Shafi'i. He says that when you want to buy a house, it was in it was in two places. One was Baghdad, and there was another city, Kufa maybe. He was saying that when he was in Baghdad, you don't have to see the house. You're going to buy the house. Okay. But in the other place, they say that, no, you have to go and see the house. So people will say that this is inconsistent, right? But then you have to see the context. In Baghdad, the house are all like our taman, our taman perumahan, housing estate in Malaysia. when they build the house, it's all the same, isn't it? If they say it's a terrace link, double story link. So if you look into every house, the same except for the corner houses. And then if you say bungalow, maybe it's going to be different according to the preference of the buyer. So that's why one state situation said, go and buy. No need to see, same. The other one say, no, you have to go and look because the pattern might be different. So we cannot say that he's inconsistent, but he has a context. He knows the reason for why he's saying it differently. So that's why I say here, when kids are reaching adolescence, they should be taught about ethics and moral judgment using reason because contexts are changing. Otherwise, they'll use the same rule like blindly, for all situations, which will lead them into trouble. And this is consistent with the Quran encouragement for us to use moral philosophy. And that's why applied by Al-Ghazali and Maskawi. Therefore, at the university level, if you want to teach ethical principles or to make wise decisions, we have to improve with ethical inquiry and reasoning. We should offer a course on that. Okay? Because if we follow the same way that we have gone through our Ugama, we go 11 years from primary, secondary, and then 11 years. And go the same thing without any critical thinking about it, about the problem, we're not going to develop in terms of making good, wise decision. And even the Quran encourages philosophy by, if you look at what the Quran and philosophizing, the Quran says a lot of times, reflect and think. Yeah, ijtihad. Scientific method, very clear with Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. And also, when Allah said, look at the tree, look at the moon, look at the sun, look at the bintang. These are all asking for scientific method, okay? Examine tradition. Are you going to follow what your fathers and your grandfather did, even if they are wrong? No, the Quran challenges us, okay? And then social context, and then Quran talk about wisdom. Whoever has been given wisdom, they have been given lots of goods in Surah Al-Baqarah. So in other words, these are interrelated. Philosophizing will make you reflect things, and in the end you come to wisdom. And that's what you want to create in the school, in the university. Wise graduates who can make good decisions. But to do that, they need to have a lot of critical, creative reasoning, critical, creative intelligence, reading, reflection, thinking, ijtihad, freedom of inquiry. Like Muaz, when he became a governor, he was quizzed. What do you do when it's not in the Quran and Sunnah? Finally say that, then I have to think for myself. Scientific method, critical examination. Okay, these are all done. So here I want to say that you need reasons for ethics. To give reason and make arguments to justify one's moral conclusion is essential to moral enterprise and to doing ethics. But this does not mean that ethical judgment is and must be purely rational. That is, our feelings or emotions do not enter the decision making. Remember, we have conscience, right? Emotion can sometimes aid good decision making. Example, feeling the injustice of a certain situation or the wrongness of someone suffering. Our caring about some issue or person may lead us to think about the ethical issues involved. However, not to give an explanation, but simply to say X is just wrong. It's simply wrong. Or simply to have strong feeling or conviction about X is not sufficient. So that's why you need to have ethics to be taught. And I think in our Kulliyyah, we have the core course, university core course, Introduction to Ethics, right? Introduction to Ethics, right? We have that. So I don't know how successful or effective it has been, because in other university, it was only introduced when I think Dr. Mazli was the Minister of Education. I was involved in the team that discussed this matter. I'm a strong proponent of bringing back philosophy into the Muslim curriculum. Okay, and they decided to introduce ethics and worldview. I think all universities now have it, but ours we already have pick of ethics and so on. But the method, I'm not so sure. What method do they use? So The course should help students understand the nature of ethical problem, think critically about ethical matters with conceptual tools, that is the logical tools, enable them to form and critically analyze and ethical arguments, and lead them to be respectful of opposing view, open up their mind to listen to others as well, although they might not solve their problem. Okay, so so the question now is how to promote values and ethics in higher education, because it's not so much maybe for basic education, the primary school is more of telling them what is right and what is wrong, and they're doing it for fear of punishment. And the second level is they begin to see the reason in the, higher education, adolescent. Okay, so we offer moral education in primary and secondary education. As I said, higher education must offer courses in ethics or ethical inquiry. I mentioned that already. So what about other courses beside this? I mean, if it's about ethics, what about other courses? We said we want to integrate it to other courses, right? Right? So what is IOK? Is it values or faith-based? Is IOK value-based or faith-based? Or it is both? You can answer that, kan? Any integration or discussion in values for all courses? Can you do that? I don't think it's possible for all courses because the nature of the courses differ. If it is applied science courses like engineering, what do you call this, architecture. For the social sciences and humanities, yes, it's possible because they deal with human values. But and even for medicine, it is possible because they deal with, we say, it's not life. Huh? But if you're talking about technology, yeah, the business, that's why they only have this ethics, business ethics, environmental ethics. Yeah, you can't put it in every topics that you teach. But where it is embedded, if you want to teach moral values, it's in the philosophy of the course, or philosophy of the discipline. Let's say philosophy of engineering. Is there a philosophy for engineering? If there is a philosophy in engineering, I'm surely they will have a question on ethics. And this is where they will discuss it. But for every other courses of engineering, you can't put it in. Let's say mathematics, for example. When I was a teacher of mathematics in Mara Junior Science College, I don't think there was a way for me to inculcate ethics or moral or akhlaq, okay, through mathematics, except for the mathematic values like precision, okay. Precision is very important, right? Cleanliness, surprise, huh? You see, cleanliness is a value you can inculcate through ethics, through mathematics. Why I say cleanliness? Because if you are not clean in writing your steps, your mind will be muddled up. So you have to write it clearly, okay, and then precisely, okay, and then being systematic. Mathematics teach me to be systematic, and I think every mathematician, for that matter, are systematic. So in other words, those are mathematical values which can be inculcated. But if I want to talk about empathy, compassion, amanah is good for mathematics as well, because when you do business mathematics, you have to bring the amanah concept in, and fairness. Yeah. So there are many values that can be brought in. So it depends on the time, the topic that you're teaching. Okay. So so it's not possible for all courses, but at least for the introductory philosophy. But what I did after I finished teaching a topic that was in Form 1 until Form 5, I would give them a newspaper clip on an issue in the country, or I would just ask them, "Did you read yesterday what's in the paper?" And let's discuss it. Then I discussed it. So it's very different. It's separated. It's separated. If I have the time. So it's the same thing, I think, with those teaching the hard sciences, okay? So moral education here is through the hidden curriculum, where we say it's caught, it's not taught. Character education, values clarification, and cognitive moral education are using reason. And then the five is service learning. You go to community, you help other people, okay? Okay, let's talk about the pedagogy. I've about 10 more minutes before the half an hour since you're all silent. Okay. Look at this graph, this pyramid. We're talking about reflecting on our own teaching method because you want to do, suppose you want to do a teaching method that makes people think and make it your teaching meaningful. If you look at this teaching method, most of us lecture is at the tip of the pyramid. Lecture is auditory. It's only listening. Maybe sometimes they write down. So in terms of the retention rate of what we talk, like for me now, I've been lecturing, right? So I don't know how many percent you will remember. Maybe 5% only, okay? Not a good method actually, then. Okay? Then there's reading. Reading gives 10% retention rate. If you apply reading and OHP, this is what I did, okay? Lecture and OHP, okay? Now there's visual, audio and visual. So maybe 20%. You remember 20%. But if I do it in front of you with examples, which of course is not possible, not really possible with online webinar, okay? You get more, 30%. If you conduct a discussion, which I wanted to do, as I told Dr. Raini just now, I don't think I can do it because there's so much to cover. 50% will be retained if you do a discussion. And you practice doing it, or you teach other people. So after this class, you go and teach other people, you will retain 90%. Okay? So this is a very interesting learning pyramid because the first one is auditory. The higher you go, the passive it is. Then you have visual, and then you have kinesthetic. So the question now is, suppose I want to do discussion. What is the best method to do for discussion? And this is where I came with my IKMAH pedagogy. Because IKMAH pedagogy is the pedagogy of philosophical inquiry. So philosophical inquiry is the method that was taken from Socrates. What did Socrates do? Socrates, you know, just like the Prophet, he gathered a group of people in a halakah in the city of Athens, and then he will talk to them. He will say that I'm the dumbest of you all. Okay, what is justice? Can someone tell me what is justice? So one person will try to give a statement about justice, and then he will probe. This is his favorite. He will probe to that question to the extent that now the person thinks that his definition is not correct. And then another person will say another statement. Socrates will do the same thing. He doesn't teach directly. What he does is he probe and probe and probe until finally they begin to see the whole holistic view of justice and they begin to understand what is really justice. So this is what we call, you draw out the potentials of the individuals. And that's why Socrates is also called, what do you call bidan? Bidan in English? Dementia. Bidan, midwife. Midwife, right. Socrates is like midwife. A midwife draws the baby out of the mother's womb, right? Socrates draws facts out of your mind. So he's like a midwife. Okay? So this is what a teacher ought to do. If I were to do a demonstration, I would be asking you a question and I will be asking you a question. I mean, I will be asking you for something, a statement, I will be asking you the question. So this method, this philosophical inquiry, I have a small book here for teachers because I noticed that teachers cannot use thick book, okay? They would not read it. They don't have time to read. They only want to know how to, okay? For our teachers, since the time of 1996, when we introduced a smart school, we talk about Socratic method. But do you know that from the course that is called KBKK, Kemahiran Berfikir Kritis and Creative, Critical and Creative Thinking Skill, they learn so much about the theory about creative thinking and critical thinking. But how to do it, they don't know. So you don't blame them because they don't see a model in front of them and they don't see anyone doing it. So if you do this pedagogy or the pedagogy of philosophical inquiry, you kill 5 birds with 1 stone. You'll be tackling creative thinking, critical thinking, and caring or ethical thinking. Plus, because of the way the method is approached is more through discussion, you also get communication skill. And because they have to come up to something, ideas, this is about ideas, they come up with collaborative skills. So the aim is for meaningfulness. Because when you discuss something, it becomes meaningful and you will retain it longer. The content is not fact. I don't want you to remember facts because now we already have in the Google. I don't have to deliver everything to you. We are interested in concepts. Concepts which are central, three C's, central, common, and contestable. If they're not contestable, no need to discuss. Because contestable means there are 2 points or more than 2 points for that idea. Some will say yes, some will say no, some will say not sure. Then you discuss to find out which is the truth, which is the best. And they are philosophical questions because they are concept, they're metaphysical. That means about reality, about life, about existence, about the world, about man. And then epistemological is about knowledge. Is it possible? Is it true? What is your evidence? That knowledge, okay? Axiological, it is about values. And logic is the tool that you use. It's logic, whether it's logical or not. So this is the content of that class, okay? But talking about concept, any field of studies have concepts. Science has concepts. You're talking about animals, mammals, reptiles. There are so many concepts. Physics, any field of study must have concepts. Whether you want to make it meaningful or not, that is another issue. I remember when I was a math teacher, I noticed that many math teachers, they don't teach how you get the formula. Just say, okay, we are studying something today. This is the formula of percentage. Let's just do it. So they just memorize the formula. So they won't understand the concept. And given a new situation, they won't be able to apply. So that's the difference if you want to think about teaching about this. Okay. And then the process is, so that is the content. Okay. The process or the culture is community of inquiry. In other words, we will sit in a circle like halakha or semicircle or in seminar type, and then we will ask students read stimulus material or text or video clip, and then ask them to raise questions. And then once they raise question, then we decide which question to answer. If it is question that has answer in the text, we won't answer because there's already answer. We take it off. So we are teaching them. We want question that doesn't have answer. It is beyond the text. So the text is just a stimulus material for the discussion. And then we start asking question and trying to answer the question, not individually, but as a group, because many people have different ideas. So if one person say A, another person say I disagree, I think it's B. You have to justify what is your reason for that, and what is your reason for sticking to A. So there's a lot of thinking, and they facilitate so that the discussion. No, you don't want the discussion to die very fast. Then there's no building. That's what it's all about. And the teacher is teaching embodies theory and practice. The teacher has to lead by example, strong foundation Islam and its worldview. Able to see each other, idea centered. So students sit in circle or semicircle.
Yes, I think the internet is not stable.
And the committee of inquiry. Okay. Next is, I said Socratic questioning. So these are Socratic questioning. Okay. Why we use Socratic questioning is to slow down their thinking. If you are very quickly, you want to answer very quickly, that means you're looking for facts. But if you want them to think, you have to be slow because they want to reflect and they want to elaborate on it. So we want the student to uncover and discover for the first time the logical structure of their thinking. And the art of good questioning is knowing how and when to ask the right question at the right time. So there must be wait time and follow-up question. So these are the questions that I mentioned just now. Probing question, questions for clarification, probe assumption, probe reasons, question about viewpoints or perspective, probe implications, question about question. Why do you ask that? Question about question. So these are some of the technique. I don't think I need to show you this except that, you know, when you're looking for a philosophical question quadrant, a question can have one answer, closed answer that is closed, or it can be an open question, many possible answers. And in terms of, you can have textual question based on the text, or you can have intellectual questions. So if you look at this 4 quadrant, here is a question of text, and close. There's only one answer. What is the name of the boy that eats the pudding? There's answer in the text. Yeah? So this is look and see question. If you ask, what is the meaning of such and such? Ask the expert. Okay. We are looking for question in this open-ended section. It can be thinking question or imaginative question, speculate. So this is a question that we look for, but we don't tell the student about this, okay? And by telling the teachers, so that you will discourage this question here, while you encourage questions here, okay? For you to start a discussion. And when we say cognitive inquiry, okay, the way you sit and the way you do things, there are certain principles. For example, if you sit in the circle or horseshoe just now, equal status for everyone. If you must respect others by not looking down on some. You agree to disagree, but you don't look down. You're still friendly. Allow individuals to speak during their turns. And then giving feedback. That means acknowledging members of community by name identification and giving response. And then you appreciate questions and views by all members of community because you are seeking wisdom. Finally, reasoning. So in this method, you have covered 5 principles, which is good principle the student can learn. Okay. And behaviors of CI. What they do in the community of inquiry, when they question one another, when they request reason for beliefs or evidence, when they deliberate among themselves, when they use counterexample, when they use all of these things, it will be internalized. The long aim is they will internalize the behavior, and asking question and probing question become natural to them. That's when they are thinking. So that is how it works. Okay, and I have students. If they, after the discussion in the class, they go home and discuss it with the parents. Okay. I have to stop. Then you know that you have been successful. So how will you develop the 5 C's? See, these are the things that you do in the class, in the cognitive inquiry, that will develop the 5 C's.
Prof, would you like to take a break, Prof?
Yeah. I'm almost finishing.
Okay.
Okay, we can. I think it's. Hold on, my clock.
We can take 5 minutes break, Prof, if you...
Okay.
Let's take a 5 minutes break. We'll resume at 11:40, inshallah.
Okay, the question and answer.
So far, no, Prof.
Okay, shall I continue just to end it? Okay, Abdul Hamid's raised his hand already.
Yes. Prof, do you have any more to
I just want to show, I think, 2 slides.
Okay,
Can I do that, Brother Abdul Hamid?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So these are the cognitive behavior that you can get from the pedagogy of inquiry, philosophical inquiry. It develop your inquiry skill, open-mindedness, and reasoning skills. And I must tell you that after conducting this program for years, okay, one of the things that I was very delighted to see among young children in lower secondary and upper primary, they develop open-mindedness. And they profess it to me. They say, Prof, this course opened up my mind. You know, and we need people who are open-minded today more than ever, because the TikTok social media is full of, sometimes you say, baseless, unverified, false information. And if you're not critical in this 21st century, okay, you will agree with everything and you won't criticize. If not open-minded, you will only become jumud, and you become what they call this what do you call it? I can't remember the Malay word for it. Taksub. You become taksub, okay? So it's very interesting to hear student in Form 1 in sentencing that I see many ways now of looking at a thing. The taksub person, there's only one way, because they are very taksub to the ideas. When they come to this class, they realize that when they listen to their friends speaking, you know, that it opens up their mind. There are many ways to look at a thing, and that's very important if you're talking about creativity and innovation, okay? Okay, I won't talk about this. So this is, I will second last. This shows, okay, how if we have input of data information, and we use the good thinking process, which involves all the 4, the 3 C's, you know, with spiritual thinking, which we have not talked about, because I'm more about reasoning here. You will get intellectual knowledge and wise judgment. That's the output, okay? But you need to practice. If you know that, I know a teacher in the school use this method with their own story to the student, and they discuss it, and at the end they say that, yeah, this act is very bad, not good. So now, if you come to that confession that it's not good, so now you must practice it. You must not do it. So when you have wise judgment and practice, then you get your wisdom. That's the end result. Okay, that means you know the context. And finally, assessment. Assessment, just now, because we mentioned one of the ideas for VBE is to assess. How do you assess character or moral development? I would say that it's not easy. It has 3 components. This goes also with Likona, 3H: head, heart, and hand. You can assess the head by giving questions, objective questions, or essays and so on. But it's very difficult to access the heart. But you can see the action. So that's why one can evaluate moral reasoning on paper. One cannot be sure if moral feeling and action follow through. Hence, the high percent score on moral reasoning does not translate through practice. This is why it is true also for religious knowledge and action. There is no correlation between reason and action. So that's why we must have moral policemen to monitor and enjoy action. But what if we have an inner policeman and the notion that God is ever watching? That's the need for tazkiyatun-nafs. Our feeling, conscience, and spiritual intellect also has a lot to do with moral action. That's why values, morals, and ethics are taught and felt and habituated from small, so that it becomes second nature. To teach this in the university is rather late, but ethics or moral reasoning will be highly recommended in higher education for bigger implication. If you want to access, you can use multiple form of assessment: student self-assessment, peer evaluation, teacher observation, discipline records, service learning participation, parents feedback. Or you reflect on this is the head, cognitive is the head, you give ethical dilemma, discussion rubric, and moral reasoning task. Or this is the heart, do they care about what's right? You give reflection essays, empathy log, service learning reflection. This is what we can do. Behavioral, do they actually do what is right? You have observation checklist. behavior tracking, and teachers' comment. So I think these are the things that you as CPD can think of if you want to assess value-based education. Okay, I think that's it for today, inshallah. Sorry, I took a long time, although it's not discussion yet. Okay.
That's okay. But thank you
Yes,
so
now.
much, Prof.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Prof, for your lecture. So inshallah, we'll open for discussion. Question. So I've had a couple of hand raised here. So the
Let's
first
start with Abdul Hamid. Toys.
yes. Abdul Hamid Zarum, do you have any question to Prof?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Salam.
Thank you, Prof. Rosnani. Barakallah fikum. Wonderful session and fruitful discussion. I just got a few remarks or few comments. Perhaps the first one is usually we say unity of Allah, but in my humble opinion, Prof, and I think also you will agree with me, it's supposed to be the oneness of Allah, because when you say unity, like unity of Muslims, Wahdatul Ummah, we are talking about different nations, different cultures, tribes, but for Allah, it's not like the Christianity, where they champur, like Nescafe, coffee, sugar, milk. So it's supposed to be the oneness of Allah, because for them unity, yes, we understood God, the Father, the Holy
Trinity.
Spirit, and then the Son. For us, no, it is the oneness of Allah. Thank you. But the other one, Prof, if you allow me, if also Dr. Raini allows me, Imam al-Ghazali, based on one hadith, alayhi salatu wasalam, mentioned al-birru matma'annat ilayhi an-nafs wal-ithmu ma haka fi sadrika wa karita an yattali alayhi ghayruk. Which means when talking about values and virtues, alayhi salatu wasalam gave us a formula. He said, you just ask yourself, ask your heart. Like that song, I always say to my students, you know that song, listen to your heart. So the heart tells you if what you are doing is it's okay or not. You will feel happy when you do it in front of your parents. If others see you, you will feel pleasant to do it in front of them. And you will feel happy when you talk about it and publicly. But this is a virtue. While a sin or vice is what you don't want others to see you while you are doing it. When you feel self-guilt, that is a vice. So I think it is easy for the students, for the lecturers, for the parents to know if what they are doing is value or vice. It is so easy for us to determine. My last short comment is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when talking about akhlaq, for us Muslims, we know who defines akhlaq, who determines, who decides. But for the non-Muslims, it's up to the society. What might be acceptable, as Prof. Rosnani just now mentioned, might not be acceptable in other cultures, in other societies. But for Muslim, whether you are from that country, from that culture, as long as you are Muslim, akhlaq are determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah decides, determines, and defines what is akhlaq and what is ethical and not ethical for us. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam. Okay, I will answer this one first, and then next one, I will take a few at the same time, okay?
Okay, Prof.
Okay, Brother Abdul Hamid. The word unity. In mathematics, unity also means one. So when we say that there's infinity, there's trinity, there's unity. Unity means one. We're not saying that God is the Father, God is the Spirit, and God is the Son. No, we're not saying that. We're saying unity. There is unity of truth. There is oneness of truth. Unity of prophets. They can come from the same source. Unity of mankind. They come from Adam. So unity means the one single source. It also means one. So it doesn't, I don't think it causes confusion if you use the word unity. So some scholar put unity, depends on the context. So in the context, sometimes they use unity, sometimes they say oneness of God and so on. Okay. So I don't think I want to dwell so long with that. And it doesn't mean unity of the whole nation. No, this is different. This is mathematical unity. Okay. Okay. Second one, Al-Ghazali, you mentioned that he ask your heart. That's why we said the conscience. So everyone has a conscience. But that is provided you have a good heart. Okay, that's what the heart also has to be purified. Yeah. So it's better to have the heart and the head rather than just the heart alone, because the heart can be misguided. So that's why we also have to have moral reasoning. And that's why we have fiqh. Fiqh is not just yes, right and wrong, but the reason for saying that this is halal and this is haram. And it's not clear because in the Quran, it doesn't give a precise situation. It just gives a general, say, khinzir is haram. So it's general. But then if you find khinzir in some products, what is that? Alcohol is haram. If you find alcohol in anti-perspiration perfume, what is it? Is it the same degree of haram for the one that cause you to be drunk? So this Islam leaves a lot of room, we says. And that room that Islam leave in the Quran or even Hadith, we have to fill it ourselves. And so we have to think. Otherwise, who is going to help us to think? Just like, for example, 2 children staying at home, the mother left them by themselves, said that don't open the door to crooks. Okay, so suddenly after the parents left, 3 children, the friend of the younger one came, and the younger one wants to open the door because they are her friends. The sister said no. You remember, mom said don't open the door, but they are not strangers. They are my friends. But because she's younger, she has to obey. Obey the older one. So you see what I mean? So in other words, the two of them, the younger one understand the spirits of the rule, but the older one is very literalist. So even in Islam, you have this conflict between the two groups. The one who follows the spirit and the one who follows literally, harfiah. So definitely there's room, because even Ibn Maskawai and Al-Ghazali also talk about reasoning. Okay, and who defines akhlak? Yeah, right. Of course, the definition, as I mentioned just now, is given by divine commands, Allah SWT and the prophets. So, but they are, as I said, they are general. They're not specific. Okay, those that are specific, for example, like haram, to eat the carcass, that is, if the Quran is very specific, but that is clear. But those that is not specific, we have to use our ijtihad. That's why there's ijtihad. So we cannot deny ijtihad. Ijtihad is reasoning. Okay? Okay, so I think I've answered that in brief. I hope Brother Abdul Hamid, you agree with me? Any other? I think Mira has a hand up there.
Yes, from Mira.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, how are you, Mira? Long time no see.
Yes, how are you, Prof? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Thank you so much. I've been listening and taking a lot of notes. So I think I will ask one question so that I will allow others to ask questions as well. But actually, I have a lot of questions. Hopefully, hopefully we can meet in person so I can get the rest of the answer, inshallah. So, but the most important one, Prof, just know you mentioned about values are not taught, they are caught. So I think that's a really, really impactful statement, because while MQA come up with the VBE, but we also understand that we want to move away from just assessing, but we want to ensure the students caught the values behind it. But the problem is, I think most of the concern that we observe, knowing that we are in CPD, sometimes you have to encounter a lot of complaints and requests from the students, is when we have to encounter our colleague who understood the meanings of, just now you mentioned the IOK, all those kind of things, Islamizations of knowledge and whatnot. But sometimes there are conflicting actions. So knowledge-wise, the head, I think you mentioned just now, the head-wise perfecto, maybe if I can say it that way. But action-wise, missing from the class, not giving the students proper assessments or all those kind of things. The students kind of skeptical now. Like you are conveying the message, but you don't really practice it, come to the class late, or even we do have cases in which lecturers are missing from the class for many, many weeks, not 1 or 2 class, but many, many weeks. So in this case, now what we are seeing, what worse is that the students becoming pragmatic in the sense that as long as I get the good grades, I don't mind you are not coming to the class as long as I get A. We have received that kind of feedback from the students. So I think that's a big homework, knowing that we have been bringing this IOK message since day one. I know I've met the son of Shahbar Zinzi in US, and I heard from him how it was internalized in the beginning of the years in IUM. But what is missing now is that spirit, kind of like if I'm sorry if I said diluted. And how do we bring this back, Prof? Because first we want to comply with MQA, but on the same time we want to mitigate all this kind of skepticism among the students that it is worth doing in class. Thank you, Prof. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you, Sister Nura. I think that is a very big issue, very, very tricky as well and sensitive. First, I go at the end, you say that the culture of IOK has sort of been eroded. Yeah, I think that's not the reason for me to leave the university beside the KPI. Because you don't see, remember even in Likona's example about character education, you say it must be a thing subscribed, the culture must be with the community. And we had it when these forefathers, our founding fathers were there, we had it very strong. And we were very conscious of it. But when somebody came with a different idea, which is a part of IOK, like sustainability, okay, you don't have to bring it, you don't have to put that up on the pedestal and ignore the rest. Because as I said, it is part of IOK. But what happened is it went beyond IOK. So, and the action taken was very strong, put into practice, so much so that the original mission of the university sort of was like being abandoned. You feel it. You can feel it, but you can't do anything about it. Okay? So this is that's why we have to have whoever leads the university should not forget its original true mission and vision. And everyone has to have that culture. Otherwise, it will be lost. Because you see, when the university began, even the students were given a good sum of Islamic knowledge as a core course. You know, I remember the generation of, I was a lecturer already, the generation of Prof Aslam, okay, when they were students, they had to take about 8 courses of Islamic studies work as a foundation, although they are not doing Islamic studies. And that's why the early batch, okay, the understanding of Islam was fantastic, you know. But then, because of Mohi insistent of making only 3 years, right, 3 years for bachelor degree, they had to cut off many of the courses from the core course, and you're left with maybe 2 courses. So it has the Islamic component has been diluted, and therefore that part of Al-Ghazali, we talk about purification of the heart, you know, all these things, which Prof Kamal did very, very hard to inculcate through the Ibadah camp. The Ibadah camp of those years were different from the Ibadah camp of today. If you notice, it's more for fun, I think. But the Ibadah camp of those days was more for tazkiyatun nafs. So these are also changes which we have to understand, okay? But if I were looking at the typical, I would say that lecturer, the particular lecturer, I was a dean once, and my students complained. I mean, what happened if the student have that kind of pragmatic attitude you mentioned? No, I don't care. As long as my grades are good, I think this is going to be very bad. These kinds of problems should be given to the dean. Wherever is the dean should investigate. I even sat in the class of the lecturer to see for myself whether the complaints are genuine or not. You know, and the student was saying, Prof, we paid so much to come. These are international students, Singaporean, one of them. We paid so much to attend this university. Okay. And what we get is just this lecturer is asking us to present, and he does nothing. And we are learning from each other only. And they don't question also. It's like passing time. So when they come with such kind of complaint, of course, that was embarrassing for me. And they have the right to complain about that. So, okay, I told the lecturer, I want to sit in your class. I want to see what's going on. So I sat down. And after that, I talked to him. And he changed after that. He began to take the greater parts of guide the discussion, guide the question. We were talking about discussion, right? It's not just presenting your ideas, but have a discussion after that among the student and yourself, you know? So that's what discussion is all about. So in particular case, because there is a clear case of individual, so you cannot lump the whole population like him lah. He might be an exceptional individual, so we tackle the individual. We advise him, and if he doesn't want to follow the advice, then we can tell him that this is not the character that we need in this university. So at least he has a second chance, you know. So that has to be tackled by the head or the dean of the Kulliyyah, because that is a matter of integrity. It's very important, you know. We don't come to class for students. There is a very serious discipline problem. It's a matter of integrity. You're not amanah. Okay. So individual case should be taken individually and don't lump the whole university like that. Okay. Thank you, Mr. I hope I answered your question.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you, Prof.
Any other?
Prof, one last question in the chat. So from Dr. Intan, I hope this question is related. When a student give a mistaken response or view, what's the best way to let the student know? Because when I ask for other student view to get a correct response, no one wants to provide a response.
No, this is where, for you to do a discussion, a genuine discussion, there has to be trust. Trust between the student and the student and the lecturer. In other words, whatever the student say, you don't look down upon it. You appreciate it. This one, what happens if you take that kind of attitude, even we did it in the school holiday program or in the school, even the quiet one will begin to speak. Because we don't say this is wrong, we don't say this is a bad question, we didn't give any judgment to the question. We accept the question. Now, if the teacher is a teacher that is good in facilitating discussion, if the question is not up to the expectation, the teacher can say, "Can you rephrase this? Do you mean this?" In other words, the teacher help in a different way, in a way through asking also. So that will encourage the student to think that, maybe I got it wrong. I mean this, you know. And then the teacher can ask. The teacher doesn't answer the question herself. The teacher will point to another student, who wants to answer this question? What do you think? This is why we take discussion. What do you think? So the student A will give an answer. And then, do you agree with him, student C? So then there's a discussion. There is a way to elicit it from students. You have to learn, because in that book I have a few questions there that will help how to elicit, to probe into assumption. What is your evidence? And that good question, you know. I really find that the student got it, because they begin to ask, and their friends say, "What is your evidence for that?" And that is epistemology, you know. How do you know what is the truth? So once they start using that, then you know they're catching it already. So they're catching it. So this is why we have a lot of questions, and we encourage them to ask questions, but we never look down upon them. When I say trust just now, when you have that kind of attitude, where the student feel that they will not be disrespected or demeaned or degraded by their stupid question, then they will be encouraged. They will know which kind of question the teacher is looking after, which quadrant. You know, the third and the fourth quadrant, second and fourth quadrant. So they will be encouraged to participate, and that's why we realize that after maybe if you do this a couple of times, this student I was in one school, okay, I observed the teacher using this method in teaching of English. I was sitting behind. And then there was one student, female student, big female student, I think from 4, okay. So the teacher, she answered a question in broken English because it's English class. And I can see the teachers having tears in her eyes. So I continued to observe, and after class, I asked her, I thought I saw you cry just now. Why do you cry? She said, Prof, this girl has never spoken in class before, you know, and she's working very hard to ask the question in the broken English. So I was very terharu, you know. So in other words, this is what we want. Then only you can say that they have confidence in speaking, communication skill, right? You must have confidence. They will be confident. And the teacher told me after that, you know, Prof, after this, I'm not afraid anymore for my student in oral English, SPM, because they can speak with confidence. So you see, these are the things. So I think give a chance to the student. The only thing that is a problem with this method is it's slow. In the beginning, it's slow. Okay. In other words, you take time. The discussion takes time. So you have to ask them to read if they want the facts, but you only employ discussion to clarify the facts and to make it further. So that is what philosophical inquiry is all about. It can also be used for science and mathematics. For mathematics, especially problem solving. I enjoy this in problem solving because I don't have to answer the question. Okay, so this is a problem here. You cannot solve this problem. Okay, someone wants to start. What is the unknown and what is the known? Right? Okay, so what is the question? So how do you relate? I mean, the way you teach, okay, it will start into the student's mind the method, the process of thinking. So this is what the same thing with science. The hypothesis. How do you create a hypothesis? So that's why the class become very interesting. The science teacher said to me, I observed it. The student was sitting behind in the lab. Okay, now my student never sleep because I'll be asking questions. And my student in class in College of Education, okay, Kulliyyah of Education, when we have, this is PhD, a master student, when we have the presentation, and then somebody will ask question, directed it to me, and somebody will whisper, I can hear the whisper beside me, she will not answer it. So then I will not answer it. What I will do is I will post it to another student, and then I will guide the discussion. That's the job of facilitating. Until the end, we come to a conclusion. So this is what our lecturers should do. You remember, discussion, 50% retention. Student will remember. But if you just lecture, 5% masuk, then 90%, 95% keluar. You know, so you have to change your mode, and they will love the method, honestly.
Okay, thank you, Prof. So yeah, we have reached 12:03 already. So I think we will end this. But before we officially end this, I would like to call my director, Prof. T.S. Dr. Mira Katiwi to deliver closing remarks.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Raini. Jazakallah khair. And thank you so much to Prof. Jazakallah khair for all the beautiful wisdom. I don't call it as a lecture, but beautiful wisdom and sharing. And I always remember when a person speaks from the heart, gets to the heart. So we can feel your passion, Prof. So Jazakallah khair. It's really, really enlightened our day today. But at the same time, we're also being educated on how we should see the VBE, the value-based educations. It should not be something that is new to us because we have been bringing all these agendas since day one. It's just that now administratively we have to manifest that in documents and whatnot. But implementation-wise, it should not be difficult by right. It should not be difficult because this is the agenda that we have been having in this university. So Prof. Rosnani has been given a lot of practical tools and a lot of refreshing ideas to approach this agenda, inshallah. And it's just a matter of how to bring this to our course and implement it and document so that auditors from MQA can also see it and learn from us, inshallah. So again, Jazakumullah khair, Prof. Rosnani, and thank you so much to Dr. Raini, Sister Hilda, and the team from CPD, as well as all the participants. MashaAllah, we have all the murabbis here. So Prof Aziz, finally we can see the video. And all the participants, Jazakumullah khair, barakallahu fikum wa alaikum jami'an. Thank you so much, and I'll pass back the session to Dr. Raini. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Alhamdulillah, we have come to the end of our webinar. Thank you very much again, Prof. Emerita, Prof. Dr. Rosnani Hashim, for your very insightful sharing. Inshallah, we look forward to having you again in our future sessions. To all the participants, thank you for your active participation. Very eager, I can see that from the faces. We hope to see you again in our upcoming training session, inshallah. So let's end today's session with Tasbih Kafarah Surat Al-As before we proceed with the picture taking. Right, so
Oh, God.
let's turn on your camera.
Oh, now I can see some of my brothers.
You can see, Prof. Okay.
Yeah, just now I
I'm
know who I'm
going
talking to.
There are 3 screens, so I'm going to take the first screen. Okay. Smile, everyone. Okay, let me just wait. Okay. Maybe a few seconds for them to turn on their camera. Okay. So the first screen, smile, everyone. Second, smile, everyone. And the last screen, smile, everyone. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, everyone. Now
Thank you
I
very
can
much,
see you.
Prof. Thank you, Prof. See you.
Prof.
Prof. Nani. Thank you so much, Prof.
Yeah, okay. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Prof. May Allah bless you and keep you happy always and healthy, inshallah.
Amin.
Assalamualaikum.